Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can really help the show reach more loss and infertility families by taking a moment to leave a positive review or rating on Apple or Spotify. Check us out on Patreon for exclusive bonus content. Just go to patreon.com/Finding Hope After Loss. You can also check out more information about the episode in the show notes at journeyforjasmine.com. Today I'm talking with Jocelyn. In this episode, she opens up about her journey through 7 pregnancies, including a missed miscarriage, twin loss, chemical pregnancy, blighted ovum, and secondary infertility. She also discusses being diagnosed with PCOS and being dismissed by doctors due to weight issues. Finally, she talks about her current pregnancy after loss and how it has been emotionally to go through. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Jocelyn. Jocelyn, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Jocelyn. I'm from Pennsylvania, Bucks County area. I'm 30 and I am a lost mom. I also have worked in human resources for a few years, so that is my job during the week, but I also do photography on the weekends. And, I have lots of hobbies, just art, being outside. I do have one child, so I'm grateful that I get to spend a lot of time with him as well. And I really enjoy doing things that fill my cup as a person. And I'm a Pisces, if that's anything anyone wants to know.
That is important information.
I'm an astrology girl.
Yeah, my brother, he also works in human resources, so I hear a lot of funny stories from him, and I'm always sending him the funny like human resources jokes, so
Oh,
it made me think
yes.
of that.
Yeah, it's a good field to be in, and it's very flexible, which allows me to do both things. I like to, I'm also in school full time because I'm crazy. So I keep myself busy.
Like, how do you have time for all this? And then I go, you know what? I've done similar things, and I'm like, you know what? I can't take on one more thing. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's do this.
I like juggling. It's fine.
I know. And then you're like, why did I do this? I only have myself to blame.
Yep, exactly.
So, do you mind sharing a little more about your lost journey?
Sure. I'm happy to. Anywhere that offers a safe space to share, I feel like it should be talked about much more than people do. I had, I've had 5 losses. So my first one was in September of 2017. I didn't even make it to my first appointment. I didn't really know what to expect. And it made me mentally, it really took me out, and I ended up going to a lot of therapy and seeking some treatment and everything just to kind of heal because it left me with so many unanswered questions. And then the next time I got pregnant was after gastric sleeve surgery, which, I wasn't really, it was crazy. You're not supposed to get pregnant after that procedure. I was only 4 months post-op, so it was like high risk, very stressful. And that's actually the child I have now. That was Oliver. That was a successful pregnancy. We really weren't sure how. I was told that I was going to have issues no matter what. I was diagnosed with PCOS at a very young age, and I'm also a little on the heavier side. And I feel like a lot of doctors just kind of discredited anything I brought forward at times. So, but it was a very anxious pregnancy, even though you get that the innocence of a positive pregnancy test, like you see all of those wonderful announcements online and you're happy for those people, but the innocence is gone after you've experienced a loss. You're just like constantly holding your breath waiting for the ball to drop. And it was a great pregnancy. Yes, I had some issues here and there due to the surgery and everything, but you're stressing the entire time.
Yeah.
Every time you go to the bathroom, you're like, am I going to see something there? Like it just, it's a shame because I wish I enjoyed that now, especially after having that pregnancy and now suffering numerous losses after that, back to back. You're just like, was that the only time I had to enjoy that? So after having Oliver, I didn't get pregnant again. Like, again, I will say we weren't trying like anything, but I didn't get pregnant again until I think it was, let me double check here. I wrote these down because there's been so many. And honestly, I blocked out a lot too. Like normally the doctors will ask me dates and I'm like, oh man, like there were just, yeah. But the next time was February 2023. That one was a chemical pregnancy. My best friend and I both tested positive the same day. It was super exciting. We already had our two kids. They're 3 days apart, and we met through like a mom app when we had our kids. So we weren't friends for a while, but we raised our first babies together. So it was very exciting. And then, of course, you experience what it's like to have friends they don't know how to respond to a loss around you. And I can't even blame them, like I don't hold that against anybody, but everybody handles that differently and people grieve differently too. So that one, life was just so chaotic anyway. It just kind of moved forward. Her pregnancy progressed. Mine obviously didn't, but I was still trying to be as supportive as possible with, you know, also watching somebody experience what I thought was going to be my life that year. And then that May, I got pregnant again and I was just super excited. We went to, I think I was like 10 weeks along. We finally got an ultrasound and it was two empty sacs. So that one, the ultrasound technician, not the nicest lady either, just not very hopeful. And I ended up losing that. I think I found out Mother's Day that year, lost it by Father's Day. So I was very upset. The next one wasn't until April of 2024. Mother's Day weekend just seems to be a nice jab, every time. And then July of 2024, I got pregnant. So the others, I believe, like the empty sacs, I don't know. I think they refer to that as like a blighted ovum. The one in May of 2024, I think I made it to 7 weeks before I started miscarrying. And so at that point, we were like, we're going to try one more time. That was July. And that one, everything seemed to be going great. I even went to an early scan. The baby had a heartbeat. Things seemed wonderful. I went to a scan at 12 weeks and the baby's heart stopped for some reason. We have no reason as to why. I had to have a whole procedure on September 10th of 2024. And they did genetic testing and we have no answers. It was a perfectly healthy baby boy. So it's been very rough experiencing numerous losses, as what they like to now refer to as secondary infertility for me. My OBGYN said I would have to go through IVF if I wanted to have another successful pregnancy because clearly I can carry one, and I have no issue getting pregnant, I guess, but staying pregnant seems to be the issue. We've looked into like balanced translocation, all of that. So I ended up finding a lot of local groups that I went to that were like parents loss groups. I've followed a lot of pages, yours including, just to, try to find community when you feel so alone. Anytime I see anyone post anything in a Facebook group that they may be going through something, I share my story. I'm not afraid to share it. People that make you feel just completely invalidated at times by not letting you speak about that. That was a future you thought. Those were names you had picked out, all of that. Like you became attached to the idea of something and your whole world falls apart and you're expected to move on when the rest of the world goes on around you. So I ended up going to a lot of those therapy meetings and found a nice community that way. Just tried to do a lot of things to help myself heal. And I also, as a photographer, I always raffle off free sessions to families, even though it's still triggering, don't get me wrong. It's very hard to kind of celebrate other people when that was something you were hoping for yourself too. But I do want to at least say, like, I'm still hopeful. Every single time I had a loss, I was still hoping that one day I'd get to experience pregnancy again. So, I just kept trying to do things to heal myself, give back to others in ways that I could, whether that was friendships as well, people who go through it. I've befriended people across various states and all that we still check in with each other. And yeah, I mean, now I will say I'm currently 30 weeks. So I'm very excited about that. It's been another stressful, stressful pregnancy. This one's definitely had me at the hospital a few times just because of my paranoia. But I don't even know how we got lucky enough this time. We had appointments with IVF. And 2 weeks before, my son told me I'm growing my baby brother in my belly. And I was like, okay. And yeah, so again, I don't want to take away from the lost story though either just by sharing that news, but yeah, I think just having a sense of community that is willing to talk about loss like that, because it's not talked about enough. And I feel like I hear from friends like they go to doctors and they won't even look into things until you've lost at least 3 pregnancies. And it's just like, it's a very frustrating thing, and there's so many unanswered questions, and no matter how far along I get in this pregnancy, I still grieve my last pregnancies. I still think of those dates. I still, when their due dates came around, I would still grieve and cry on those days. Like, I have moments in the car I'm still crying over it. I'm excited for this pregnancy, but there's still, again, just holding your breath, waiting for that ball to drop and hoping you see that child earth side, that something else doesn't come up. There's so much we're exposed to and see in the world now that, you're aware of it. Yeah, I mean, you still grieve those babies no matter what.
I think that's what a lot of people who haven't been through loss don't understand. Like one pregnancy doesn't replace another pregnancy, and a baby doesn't replace another baby.
Exactly.
Just
Yes.
because we may have living children doesn't mean we don't miss the ones that aren't here. Like it,
Yep.
you know.
Because again, even being a photographer, I would be taking announcements for people that we should have been pregnant at the same time. I should have been doing my announcement by now, like, or, doing a hospital session for someone like, oh, this is when my baby would have been here too. Like, you're still seeing it play out in other people's lives. So it's just all of the what ifs, and those will constantly be there. And you just, my friends got me for my last loss, they got me this necklace, and it's baby's breath and forget me nots. And I've worn it every day since, because, you just want something to carry that baby with you. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
especially with early losses. I mean, we don't always have something tangible. Like we know they were here, but there's no
Right.
like proof that they were here.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, again, I feel like my family, very old school. They're, oh, get over it. You post stuff on Facebook, you want attention. And I'm just like, that's actually, I post this for the sake of someone else feeling that they could come to me and talk to me, that they'd feel comfortable knowing that somebody else went through this, that they're not alone, and that I have so much empathy and understanding to give them, because it, even your partners, as much as they can grieve, they're not the ones physically, mentally, emotionally going through that. It's a loss within you. And, it took my partner a decent amount of time, I think, to actually grasp what I had gone through, especially the last one, having to have a full procedure. Seeing me go through that, just that finally, I think, made it click. So, yeah, I mean, and it doesn't matter what gestation you lose at either, too, because again, once you see that first positive, you're a mom, and you just totally register like, this is what my life's going to be, and you get attached to it. So, and we struggled the last loss as well with like, were we supposed to name this baby? Because we still hadn't even really gotten to that point. We were still holding our breath. And once we found out what it was like, you know, do we take that next step? Were we supposed to name this child? Do we share this name with people? Like, so yeah, there's so much that I don't think people register or consider when someone goes through a loss. And I wish, it was talked about more. I definitely do. So any type of way to advocate for it and speak about it, I'm on board. I'll be that person that's an open book. I don't mind.
But see, yeah, we need people like that
Yes,
for
exactly.
all the ones who don't feel like they can. So I'm curious, since you said you were pregnant at the same time as one of your friends, I actually had that experience too, where we were pregnant, I had the loss, she had the baby. Did that affect your friendship at all?
I've had it affect a few friendships actually. So the one that was pregnant, I remember we initially talked about me doing photos and everything too for her. And she ended up going with someone completely different and just kind of like blindsiding me with that at one point, which I was like, that's fine, that's your own prerogative. And might have been considering my feelings in that moment. Even though I was a little upset about it, I think she was trying to protect me from being triggered. And then she also had some issues in the beginning with certain levels and was being prepared to lose that pregnancy. So, if anything, I tried to be supportive no matter how hard it was because it was tough, but you constantly sit there and compare yourself to other people in this world, so it was like I need to kind of take a step back. We still would see each other. We definitely had some time. I think we took some space from hanging out for a little bit, but I still tried to show up as much as possible. I had a lot of family that went through loss that when I was pregnant with my son, they weren't able to really be there and support. And I respected that decision as well. When I even told them the news, I tried to find the most respectful way to let them know. But like they couldn't come to the shower, they just couldn't be happy. That's not me personally though. So I tried my best during my friend's pregnancy to still show up, still went to the baby shower. I actually took pictures when he was born at the hospital. I did try to be present. I will say it's still been a little estranged in a way, not as close as it was, but motherhood's hard also. So, there's probably other factors that play into that. But then I had other friends that just felt like I was being dramatic, that felt that it was too much for them to handle if I had moments of grief. And just kind of parted ways with a lot of friends in that moment. And like, it's a very isolating experience because they didn't understand it. They
Yeah.
had never experienced a loss. Pregnancy came very easy to them. And again, I don't hold that against anybody. Like, we all have different paths and journeys that we're supposed to go on in life. So, you know, but it was very isolating. It's a very lonely experience to go through loss. No matter, even if you do have support, you almost feel embarrassed to have to tell people after already saying the good news to them. Because I've had that too, where, you know, it's so hard. I'm such a blabbermouth. I want to tell everybody, I want to tell the world that we're pregnant, we're excited, be excited with us. And I held back from telling a lot of people this time around. The only people I did tell were people that I wanted in my corner when I needed them to grieve, that I knew would be, strong support. But I didn't even tell family or anything until we were around 16 weeks this time. So, and sadly, some of them I wasn't actually planning on telling them. I had some stuff give me away, but some cravings. But yeah, you definitely, there's the people who, and I think there's nothing wrong with telling people early on, or like that time frame of when you tell people. I hate when people judge on that too, because it's like, you know what? It may only be here for so long. It may only be a pregnancy for a little bit. Like, let them enjoy that moment. Stop robbing people of the excitement if they can have it in that moment, no matter how long it is, because it's precious. So, you know, it's definitely caused some friendships to dwindle out, but I think that makes you realize who who's in your corner. So,
Yeah, I hate the whole don't announce till you're 12 weeks past the first
mhm.
trimester thing. I mean, because then,
I
yeah, it
do.
makes you feel like, oh, well, since I was only 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, that my loss doesn't matter because I wasn't past that point.
Right. It's just so invalidating. Like even doctors, it's like I don't care if I didn't make it to my first ultrasound. That pregnancy was there. Those levels were there. Like that, you still have something pass within you at that point. Like there was something there that counts. That should be valid. So, yeah, I think announcing whenever you want, so be it, because there's pregnancies that have issues late term, like it could happen at any point in time. So why not celebrate while you can, while you just have that excitement, that time to appreciate. I don't know. That's just, I've always felt that way too. But this time around, I was more just like, oh boy. I don't know. Like, let's just at least see. All of the others, I think I told people very early on, and you know, and I respect anyone's decision on whenever they decide to announce the news. So,
Yeah, I definitely don't judge anybody on that. And like I remember I had a chemical pregnancy as well, and so it was never confirmed at the doctor's office. So when I bring it up, they don't count it because it
mhm.
wasn't confirmed. And I'm like, but I mean, I'm not lying. I saw a
Yeah. I,
positive test.
I had that happen too because I was like, I have 5 tests at home that say pregnant, but by the time they'd even see me in the office, even just to do an HCG draw, my levels were at a 5. So, they're like, oh, well, And then this pregnancy, I've been asking, what further testing can we do? Because even if I wanted to try again after this, am I going to have another 4 losses before I finally get a successful pregnancy? Because there's just so many unanswered questions. And they're like, you're cured. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, yeah, no, I think, obviously doctors have to have a certain bedside manner and then certain expectations just to stay within the ethical guidelines of their profession. But do I wish some of them were a little bit more empathetic? Yes, because I feel like I have not encountered the best with that. So,
So unfortunate, especially with I have PCOS as well, and I feel like with that, doctors don't understand it. They don't take the time to understand it. And like you briefly brought up, a lot of it's just, well, if you would lose weight, then that would
all the
solve
time.
everything.
Mm-hmm. I know. I've been to numerous doctors for PCOS. I think was diagnosed maybe at 14 because I had cysts that were rupturing while I was in high school, and it was extremely painful and I couldn't get answers. And I go to endocrinologists and everything, and they're always pushing weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. Even they're trying to get me, certain shots and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like I know my body, and I would prefer if someone helped me more with like the fertility aspect of this, or at least did a little bit more research. And, it's so hard to find a good provider that actually wants to get to the bottom line of what's going on with you. So instead of just looking at a number on a scale or what you look like in person. So, you know.
And that always drives me crazy because the number on the scale doesn't tell you the full story. I mean, it doesn't even say if you're healthy or not healthy. You could have a really low number and be super
Hmm.
unhealthy. So
Exactly. Exactly.
that drives
Yeah.
me.
I know. I know. And again, some of them, like not even wanting to do anything until after 3 losses, finally. I was like, it took 3 for me to be finally like taken seriously. You'd think after 1, but
Like,
no.
thanks for making me suffer through
Yeah.
more. That's
Yeah.
great.
Exactly. Like, oh wow. Where's my prize? Yeah.
It's
So
one of those things that's like not funny, but you
I,
gotta go with
yes,
the
I
dark
have
humor,
that.
right?
I have that kind of humor. I mean, you have to like laugh through things no matter how they get. So,
No,
yeah,
I definitely agree. I feel like if you don't laugh, you'll just cry all the time. So
exactly. And as a water sign, I'm good at that too. But,
yeah.
yeah. And I think this time around too, I kept a lot in. I bottled a lot of my feelings because I was like, again, there's such a stigma around actually grieving losses. For the longest time, I was just embarrassed. I felt like I was being over the top or too much. And, after my last miscarriage, I was like, what I went through was absolutely awful. That, I just, whenever I needed to cry, I would scream in my car. And I'm not, I just felt a little crazy at times too, but you're postpartum all the time too. Like the hair loss and everything I was going through, my body was constantly changing. And I had a lot of resentment towards myself at times and was keeping that to myself. And this last time, I let go of a lot of that. I refused to let myself feel any kind of shame for what I went through because it's unfortunately out of my control. There was nothing I could do in that moment. No matter how much you want to save that baby because you get attached and that's your baby and you do anything for them, I had to let go of a lot. I really did. And, you know, it's been a very transformational path for me, is what I'll say. I've learned a lot. So,
It's definitely not one of those things that happens overnight.
oh,
For
no.
sure.
No. Yeah. Well, as a grief and, just healing is not linear whatsoever. I'll pull out a term from all of my therapy, but it's definitely not linear. It's a roller coaster. And there's still days where, it catches up with you. But I think I'm able to acknowledge my grief now a little bit more and recognize that I deserve to, heal and move past a lot of that pain. And I have a feeling my journey's not over with it either. Like as hopeful as I am with especially this pregnancy now, there's still the chances of another pregnancy in the future. And I'm aware of it. I am there for others going through it and just trying my best because, that's life. So, but yeah, no, it's been definitely an interesting journey, but I've met a lot of amazing people along the way too. And once people start to open up and share, you experience just a really great sense of community, being able to have a safe space to talk about it. And I've learned a lot more that way as well, and of various different types of losses from others too. So, everybody has a different journey. And I just think being able to sit back and hear them out and have that sense of community just helps you move forward so much with everything.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I didn't find the lost community until I think it was a couple years after we lost Jasmine, and I was like, I wish I had found it so much sooner because it makes you feel like you're not crazy for the
Yeah.
stuff that you think. Because sometimes you're like, why did that thought pop into my head? You know?
Uh-huh. No, I agree. I learned a lot from others and just even new ways to grieve. And they would have candle lighting ceremonies to honor our babies, or we would make bracelets. They would have walks. Like, it was just being able to share when again, like I said, I come from a very old-fashioned family even, and emotions were always very suppressed. And there weren't a lot of comfortable spaces to feel emotions, even recognize emotions. So I think being able to find somewhere that's available to you is amazing.
So, I know you said that you had known kind of a few people in your family that had been through loss, or did you have any other people in your life that had been through loss that like talked about it or anything before you went through it?
I only had my one cousin for the most part. She, I believe, has Graves' disease, but it took them a while to find out that autoimmune issue for her. And it took her a few processes through IVF to even, get answers. And then she ended up conceiving naturally, but we didn't really talk about it. It was, like I said, my family's very closed doors with a lot of that stuff. and everybody else in my family seemed to be like fertile myrtle. So, you know, it was always, oh, what are you eating? Do you change your diet? Is this, is it related to something else? And I think because we had such an environment like that growing up as well, she didn't feel not only safe enough to speak about a lot of it, but she also held a lot of animosity. And again, I'm not holding anything against anybody, but she conceived after me naturally. So I was pregnant before she got that chance. And there was actually a lot of like hard feelings that came up during my process of being pregnant. So, I like I said, I don't hold that against anybody either. I can't imagine everything they went through as well, all of the money put into that too, because it's a shame how much IVF even costs. But, there really wasn't anybody else that spoke about it until after. I would say I found it through friend groups. I didn't have anyone in my family that would speak about it. And the friend groups I encountered were through like women's empowerment groups that I joined. Kind of more on photography side, but a lot of older women that, felt the same way. Like, why are we not talking about this more? And they helped me a lot through all of everything that I went through too. Thankfully, those are the ones that knew because they knew. I think the only other places I found people to talk to about it were like online social media platforms. But yeah, no, family does not really talk about it, unfortunately. So,
Yeah, which is, I mean, I get it. Not everybody wants to be public about it, but to me, I'm like, it's so helpful to talk about it. Why would you not want to?
and my mom, I had a brother that she lost at 23 weeks. He was born, he lived for an hour, and then he passed away. And it was at a time where 23 weeks, they couldn't really step in. I know nowadays, like statistically, things have changed, but my mom didn't even. Her response when I told her about my first loss was, I had a grandchild you didn't tell me about. She's never been the most like, she's a great mom, but empathy doesn't come too easily to her in that aspect of understanding. So yeah, it was kind of hard to even want to share any of my other losses with her after that. And then the only other one they knew about was when I lost that like twin blighted ovum pregnancy, and they didn't have the best reaction to that either. So, it's hard. It's hard to talk to certain people about it, I guess, and that's just how it is. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are able to speak about it. So, you know, you'd think someone that went through a loss like that would be able to empathize a little bit more and have more understanding and be more supportive, but I've just kind of accepted some people might not be capable of that. But and my own mother, it was definitely a difficult process. Sometimes you want your mom. So,
Yeah.
when I woke up from my D&C procedure that last pregnancy, I wanted my mom in the worst way. I didn't even tell her what was going on then because it was just, here's another one, here's another loss. Like people are just going to think I'm looking for attention or, I'm not looking for pity. I just want support. I just want like a hug. And I'm so grateful for the nurses that I had that just immediately hugged me. I woke up and I was sobbing, and they just gave me the biggest hug because they knew. Obviously that wasn't my decision, but I couldn't let anything progress internally. So, and that was the worst too because I still had all the symptoms. I was still sick. I was still throwing up everywhere. I was, everything was still tender and it was just so frustrating to know like my body is still considering this time like all the others I lost naturally. This time my body hasn't registered that it's gone. It still thinks we're good. And Yeah, I was in denial. I had multiple ultrasounds before even having that procedure because I was just like, I feel like I'm playing God, and not to bring religion into things, but like I just, even with pets or anything, that's never a role I want to play. So it was a really hard decision for me to go through, and I went through it alone. So yeah, I didn't, even at that time, I didn't have any like really close friendships or anything like that. Just that's how life was. And it was a very, very lonely experience. So there's sometimes where I wanted my mom, but I also, she grieves in different ways too. So she never really explained if there was more to why we lost my brother, but she doesn't, we remember him every year, celebrate his birthday, and my son has his name as his middle name. So, you know, very excited for this baby as well. Is actually due when he would have been due.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so I almost feel like maybe he's, that's like I said, I'm an astrology girl. I'm spiritual in some ways, and the fact that this baby's actually due September 10th, which is when I had my procedure last year.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, that's too many
yeah, and
coincidences.
it's a boy. It's a boy this time too. So, and the name that we were so torn on whether or not we should have given to that baby, we are using this time. So, I feel like in my heart, it was just, we were meant to save that name for this time around. And that's just how we feel about it. We weren't sure what to do with naming the last one. We didn't. We just refer to it as like baby camp. But yeah, I think it's definitely a good sign that he's due the same day, and hopefully we'll see him Earthside.
Now, are they gonna let you do like a scheduled induction, or are you just going until you go into labor?
I went naturally with my son Oliver, but he is growing ahead a little bit, which I'm not used to. My son Ollie was like past due date and came out at like 5 pounds 11 ounces. He was tiny. That was because I had that surgery. So this time around, I don't know. I think it's all dependent on my next my next scan because he's big.
Yeah.
I'm a little scared. I'm like, oh man, growing a beefcake this time. But I'm trying to be grateful for that too. This pregnancy's been like, I've gained the weight. I've looked fuller in the face. I don't feel great all the time, but I'm still trying to be very grateful for the experience again. Like, no matter how scary it is, just the thought of getting to hold another baby in my arms is like what I'm holding on to. And I know I'm a great mom. I love being a mom. And I had a feeling, I've always had this like feeling that I would have another boy. I know my partner wants a girl in the worst way, but I just felt like I was going to have another boy. So whether that's some sort of connection in some way too, you know, we'll see. But yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to go naturally or sunroof style, but we'll see.
I like that.
Yes, yes. I mean, at least this one's head would be round if that was the case, because the other one looked like a cone head. But
Oh yeah, my firstborn too. I was like, because I had to push for a long time with him, and I felt so bad when he was born. I'm like, I'm so sorry about your head.
yeah,
It's
I
fine now,
know.
but
Is this why you guys put the hats on? They're like, no, it's to keep them warm. I'm like, okay,
like,
sure.
let's just put that on here
Not
now.
like a random point coming out here. Yeah, yeah. And even like his birth, like everything went so great with it, but then after the fact, it was a little traumatic too. So yeah, I had a hard time like postpartum as well, just being very anxious, and I was very scared to even get attached. I had to go through therapy for postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, because I think I was just like, am I worthy of loving a child after experiencing loss and all of that? So, these are a lot of things that I think people need to talk about a little bit more, because they're the thoughts that pop into your head. They really are, along with all the other lovely things postpartum. But yeah, I ended up doing a lot of infant massage classes and everything with him just so I could bond with him a little bit more, because after you've loss, I feel like you're just scared to love again, and but you are worthy of it no matter what. So that's something I would constantly I tell everybody. I'm like I said, I'm an open book. I will share any of my postpartum trench stories or like any of my experiences with loss just so people don't feel alone because sadly society kind of makes you feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. And I mean, even if you're a new mom who has never had loss, like it's postpartum is hard.
Yes,
Even
yes.
harder when you've gone through loss, I think.
Mhm.
And it's just, we're just kind of left like, okay, you get one checkup 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later, and then all right, go have fun.
Fill
Come back
out this
if you're
questionnaire.
I know. And
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
like, that's it.
you don't fit any of those six questions. You're good. You're good to go. Yeah.
Oh, I
So
hate those questions, by the way. I'm like, this is not a very good indicator of how I'm doing, but
yeah.
as long as I hit the right answer, you're not going to ask further questions. So,
Yeah, I'm not gonna get shipped off for a grippy sock vacation, but
right.
I trust me. I wish there would be a little bit more to that too, just because there's like that's more for depression too, not even anxiety. And yeah, Oliver swallowed meconium while I was delivering and was choking a lot after birth. So it was like anytime he made a noise, I was jolting awake. Basically let my body go into shock all the time because I wasn't sleeping or anything. Because again, it was just, you know, scared to get attached. And now, like, he does not leave my side. He's my little mini me. And yeah, I've allowed myself to kind of break down some of those barriers too. And you get scared to even love again, like, once again with now having four losses back to back after having him, like I've definitely not felt as attached this pregnancy, but I'm trying to allow myself to break down those barriers. So,
Yeah, that's really hard. Just that I know with my last pregnancy with my youngest, I had a really hard time getting attached as well because I was just so afraid and I was
yeah,
so scared of everything all the time. And I was just like, it almost felt unreal. Like this
it
isn't really
does.
happening, This is something else. I don't know. It's just
I know
hard
I
to
just got
explain.
kicked in the ribs, but is this real? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's, I have moments at night, like obviously while working on other things too, all the things I have going on in life, but where, I try to acknowledge him and just enjoy the little kicks as I feel them and everything. But it's completely different from how I felt with Oliver and that pregnancy. And that one, again, I was still stressed that pregnancy since I had only had like one loss prior. But I think I allowed myself to be more. And now I have a toddler too. So that it's whether or not I have time to really acknowledge this pregnancy too. Like
Good
while you're
point.
just running around, yeah, I'm like, I'm much more busier. I can't just like, sit and record my belly all the time. But this time around too, I honestly, I made sure I got more pictures taken than I've ever done. I was like, I don't even care how long this lasts. I'm celebrating it. I refuse to let myself, just curl up into a ball of fear and let the fear consume me. I'm surrendering to whatever fear I may have and just taking things day by day. But it's hard because I had a subchorionic hemorrhage at 12 weeks and was like, what did I do wrong this time? Like, and rushed myself to the hospital and they're like, oh, the baby's fine. Just don't do any horseback riding for the next couple of weeks. I'm like, okay, but after everything I'd already been through before, I was like, every time I go to the bathroom and I wipe, I'm still doing that. Middle of the night, I'm turning on lights when I'm delirious and groggy because God forbid there's something there this time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the anxiety unfortunately does not dissipate or go away, but making it to certain milestones and everything has helped me a lot. And just again, kind of having hope that things will be successful and work out. So that's all. It's literally all you can have. So
Yeah.
you just kind of have to surrender that. I'm taking care of myself, obviously, but I'm surrendering to the fact that I have control of the situation because I don't. So,
Yeah, which is really hard because we always want to be in control of everything. And then we're like, okay, we're actually in control of nothing. So now I
yeah,
just have to
yeah.
accept it? What?
I know. I don't want to accept this. Yeah. But and like I said, it's a journey. It's a journey of that's not linear whatsoever. So there's some days where I may spiral a little bit, but there's other days where I'm able to collect myself and I'm good. So, and I think that's the human thing. Like it's not, I think we hold ourselves to higher standards and we shouldn't because we're human. So,
Yeah, definitely. I think we do that. It's hard
hmm
not to. We're always comparing, always,
yeah,
why
yeah.
me? Why not them? What, all of that. They can go down that rabbit hole.
Right. And it's not just with being able to have a successful pregnancy or not. I think we do it with everyone around us. And that's just society today and instant gratification that we have of social media and everything and seeing perfect lives out there that people present. So it's hard not to kind of break yourself down with all of that. But and like I said, as a business owner too, like there's just, I was taking newborn photos of someone 2 weeks after my procedure, and like I as hard as that was, it's like you just kind of have to pick yourself up and keep moving forward, and there's going to be other people living the life you thought you'd have, and you can still be happy for them and still grieve in your own way too. But yeah, it's been, I think, honestly though, being in that constant, I don't want to say trigger because it's not like always negative for me. I'm still able to be happy for people, but constantly exposing myself to that helped me a lot too. And, you know, especially doing like the raffle sessions that I do and everything. I have like a rainbow skirt and everything too, just in case any one of those people ends up having a rainbow baby. Like I've made that a major aspect of my business because I think everybody gets a chance to deserve later. They deserve a chance to celebrate that. That's what I meant to say. So
I love that.
yeah, I'm like, I've had a few people, one of my recent clients, she's in her 40s. She had cancer at a young age and never thought she'd have a child. And then they welcomed a little boy, and I got to use all of my rainbow baby stuff for her whole pregnancy announcements and even for birth announcements and everything. And it was just very fulfilling.
It's
So
very nice to be able to be a part of that celebration for somebody else.
definitely. Because again, another reason to have hope that like maybe one day you'll get that opportunity as well. So, it may not be your time yet, or at least even if it never ends up happening for you, that you get to at least let somebody else celebrate that achievement and, feel good about the path and journey that they had to go through to get there. So,
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story today.
of course, it was a pleasure to be here and share. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for sharing your story with us. Don't forget to get your names in for the 2025 Wave of Light name reading, which will be on October 15th. You can email your baby's name to me at sarah@journeyforjasmine.com or comment on any of my social media posts at Journey for Jasmine. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please take a moment to leave a positive review or rating on Apple or Spotify. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.